Hi everyone, I'm Lauren,
And I'm Lindsey.
and this is
Swearing Mama.
Go us.
Hey.
So, welcome back everyone. I guess today we're talking about something that I feel like no one really talks about, and it's just kind of because it's an ugly moment. So, it's about when you kind of lose your shit when you have a baby. So, the title here, I Yelled at an Infant, is focusing on that, but I guess we can kind of talk about the whole thing about just losing your mind when you are in the baby zone. So, did you have any of these type of experiences? I already know that you did, but
Yeah. Getting ready to have one now. Bring it back over here. What do you even have right now? Okay, whatever. Yeah, with kids, I find it harder to, what am I trying to say? I thought of this when I was in the shower, what I was going to say, and now I'm just drawing a blank because that's usually how my life works.
Gross mom brain.
I don't even know if I can use that as an excuse anymore. My child's 3.
I think you always have it once your brain has to occupy someone else's life.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think for me, it's just a lot of my anger, if you will, comes from when I tell Tim, hey, put on your shoes. It's a simple task that he knows how to do. He's done it several times. And then it's well, I don't know where they are. And I point to exactly where they are. And he legit looks at the ceiling. And I'm no, look at my hand. Where am I pointing? It's I think I just forget that he's 3, And even though it is a simple task for even a 3-year-old, sometimes it can be a harder task, And I have a very short fuse when things come like that, especially if I'm running late. It's just, I come from a military family, so if you're not early, you're late. So I'm always early, but in my head, I'm late. So yeah. I'm always paranoid that I'm going to be late. I've never been late to work or anything like that, but I'm just always paranoid that I'm going to be. And I just don't have patience when I feel like I'm running late. So I do tend to yell, get your shoes on. Let's go. I'm going to be, and he doesn't understand the term being late, because his life is structured and, he does everything usually at the same time. So I also had that with the kids I used to babysit for.
Did you have it when he was a baby?
Yeah. When he's crying, when he was younger and he was crying, I think mentioned this before, the whole shaking baby syndrome. I would never shake my child, so please don't hold that against me. But it was when I was in that moment, there were times where I was so sleep deprived. So I tried everything and nothing was helping, that it would just be I would be crying and yelling, what do you want? What do you need? They're I've done everything and you can't communicate with me what you need. And I've done everything. My child is now running around the house naked. Oh my God.
That's what I've been doing all day.
Yeah.
No.
But, yeah. So no, I've yelled at infants. My own child as an infant, I've, continue to, cause we just get frustrated cause it's we don't know. And then you feel you're doing something wrong. And then when you yell at them, you feel like you're a terrible parent because you yelled at your child. And okay. How about you?
Yeah. I definitely had those moments a few times when Oliver was like, I guess I don't even remember the age because honestly, I think those first like 6 months are all one giant blur. Um, or it is for me when I think back. So for maybe like the first 2 months, it was all great. He would sleep and, be sweet and everything, a cuddly little infant. But then sort of after that, things began to get difficult, and it would be my fuse is like yours about trying to get out the door a lot of the time. So I'm trying to get us out to his doctor's appointment, and he will not stop crying, but he doesn't want a nurse, or he doesn't, nothing I'm doing is fixing the problem.
Yeah.
And even just a couple of times around the house, like, he would just be crying and crying and crying. And it's like you said, like, you're tired and you're frustrated, and it's like, what is wrong with you? And you're not mad at the baby. You're just freaking, like, at a loss, at your wit's end.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of times when you're a new mom, or even a new mom again, like with another child, or even later in life, like I'm not a new mom. Like I said, my child's 3 and I still have those moments. It's just frustrating. And you, as a parent, like you're like a toddler, you know what I mean? You have no other way to express things sometimes, except for to yell. Like, I mean, but even before I had kids, I would yell at my husband. Like, it's just, there's sometimes you just don't know how to react, and yelling is in your mind, the best way to react.
Yeah, it's not like you want to sit down and yell at them, but it happens. And I remember, like, I think it happened once or twice where I just, like, lost my shit and just, like, screamed. And one time, of course, it made Oliver cry harder. Another time, he just, like, stopped crying and looked at me like, are you okay?
Yeah.
I was like, in that moment, I cried more because I was like, oh, my God, like, I shouldn't be putting this weight on him. But he, like, my tiny, tiny baby child is, like, being empathetic to me right now. Like, what's up with that? But I felt so guilty and, like, shameful. I just felt like the worst person. But in those moments, I talked to you a couple of times. I talked to my mom and a couple of other people. And really, like, every mother that I spoke to was like, oh, yeah, like, that happens to everyone. And I felt like, why does no one admit it? I guess because it feels very ugly and you just feel so guilty and embarrassed. But, I mean, I think almost everyone does that, don't you?
No, it is like a dirty secret of all parents that we do that.
Not for fun. It just happens.
It just happens.
And I had one thing that really, like, I think I reminded myself that made me feel better then was, this is literally how people are tortured. Like, if you were to go through, like, some sort of terrible torture in like a place where people do torture. I don't know where people do torture, but like that's what they do sometimes is like play certain sounds over and over on a loop until you go insane and, confess whatever they want to hear or whatever the situation, may be. But like that's a thing. Like sound torture is a thing. And like that's literally what's happening. You're just hearing this terrible, horrible noise over and over again, which is not to mention that like your specific child's cry is like the worst sound in the world to a mother. Like it's jarring, it's grating, it's stressful. It has to be, or else mothers would just sleep through the night and not
ignore it.
Yeah. So of course it's like the worst sound ever, and it's going over and over again, and nothing. I mean, how are you? There's no way that any mom's going to always know what's wrong because, like, I think we mentioned before a while back that there was, like, a meme that was, like, imagine being a baby and you're crying because your foot itches, but your mom just keeps trying to give you a bottle. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes that baby's crying because their foot itches or because they maybe they want to just be in a different, whatever, a room you wouldn't expect them to want to be in, or they want to, they might want something so random and you'll just not be able to figure it out. And it's like, literally drives you crazy.
Where's your cut go?
Like literally a little bit.
Yeah. Like I am a big, when I'm out in public, please do not click on things. When I'm out in public with Tim, I don't want to be stop touching the keyboard. I don't want to be that person that, has their kid like yelling in the restaurant or anything like that. So we do trivia on Tuesdays, and there's been times where there's other kids like in the restaurant, and like I will hear like a child like scream, and I like go to like yell at Tim, and then I realize it's not him, and then I kind of give like a dirty look to the other parent because I'm like, get your child under control. Because you're
in that zone.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just, oh, bless you. Thank you for sneezing right into
Your face.
yes, my face. Thank you. But yeah, no, it's something everyone does. Like everyone has a short fuse when it comes to something, and it's just different for everyone, and everyone does it. It's like you said, it's not like we want to do it. It's not like we do it on purpose. And usually we feel incredibly bad afterwards.
Hey, Mommy.
Yes, Timothy.
Why are you talking?
I'm talking to Lauren.
I talk to her.
No.
I hi to her.
Okay, say hi real quick.
Hi.
Hi.
She said hi.
I can hear her.
I know, because they're in my ears.
Panda.
I'm not putting them in your ears. I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, but it's like we feel incredibly bad after we do it. So it eats us more than it eats a child. Because there's been times where like I had, when I was babysitting those kids, there would be days, I mean, every child has days where they just don't listen at all. And there would be days where they would come in, and it was 4 of them, so it was 4 against 1, and not a single one of them would be listening. And it would be like, I would just snap. And one time I remember like I sat them all down, and I was like crying, and they're all looking at me like wide eyes, and I'm just like, why aren't you guys listening? Like, come on. Like, I have asked you all a million times to do X, Y, and Z. You guys haven't done it. Like, I've asked you not to run. I was like, do you guys want me to leave? Like, and it would be like, I'm like, cause I will leave. Like, you guys will get a new babysitter. Then I would like feel bad for like yelling at them or whatever. And I would, the one little girl I was with all the time. So I would ask her, I'm like later, I'd be like, are you still my friend? And she's like, of course. And I'm like, you still like hanging out with me? And she's like, yeah. Like, they don't remember. Like, kids remember like the fun things you do and not that you yelled at them for that. Like,
Mommy, what's this?
It's the printer. I don't know.
I turn it back on.
Okay.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's obviously a level that we're not condoning, which would be like an abusive, like, your kid says, like, mommy, can we go play? And your first response is, no, we can't go fucking play. Like,
yeah,
that's malicious. But when it's an occasional thing, or just you really losing your shit, like, moms are human. And it's terrible because, like, whenever this happened to me before, I did a lot of Googling to sort of see, like, if I was the only one doing this or whatever. And most people would admit that they've done it, but there are some moms out there who say just terrible things, like moms who, I guess, don't have an anger thing, I don't want to say an anger problem because we don't have anger problems, but you know what I mean? Like, moms who just, like, that's not their challenge will say really, really terrible things. And, like, I just want all of those people to know that, like, they're falling short too in different ways. I don't think that it makes you any less of a parent if you occasionally lose your shit.
No, I agree. You're not a bad parent, because at the end of the day, your child will still love you and really not remember that you yelled at them for whatever it was.
Hey, Mom, what what happened
Yeah.
to dog?
Of course you should try not to, like, go off on your child. I mean, it's a difference in yelling at your child as a discipline. Like, these are two different things. If you're disciplining your child by yelling, that's one thing. But if you're yelling out of your own frustration, like, you know, obviously you should try not to do that all the time, especially if you're like me, because you don't know what's going to come out of your mouth. I might say some crazy off-the-wall shit when I do that, you know? So it's not the goal, but I mean, everybody's going to do it at times. And like, I just, now it doesn't happen to me very often, but when it does happen, I usually don't feel so bad. But I think now that's because, like, I know that Oliver is doing things on purpose to be honoring, you know? And so now I kind of feel like, well, he can be disciplined and he can observe the consequences.
Okay.
Like, you piss mommy off, mommy's gonna yell eventually, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't feel too bad anymore. I mean, I still try not to, but occasionally, you know, he's just whiny and fussy, and I just, like, I honestly, like, to be really honest, like, have had a couple of times where I was just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And I feel like an asshole, of course, but, like, I think it just happens when you're around someone all day and that's what they do is whine in your face. Like, eventually you're just going to want them to shut up.
My favorite is, it's so funny because both my husband and I do it. Like, whenever we get angry into that point and we yell at him, and we drop the F-bomb in front of him, like, the other parent will look over and be like, do not say that in front of him, and, like, get all mad. But then, like, an hour later, the other parent will be doing the same exact thing. But yeah. So moral to the story is, a lot of people yell at infants or children or anything. I'm sure your parents did it. I'm sure you've done it. We've all done it, even if we don't want to admit that we've done it. You know, it doesn't make you a bad parent. It just, you were at your wit's end. And you, as a human, had no other way to express your frustration.
Yeah, you had to get it out, and so you'll just
sometimes
try better next time,
screaming is the best way, you know? Like, I'm not saying, like, scream at your child. If you have the ability to set your child down in their crib or whatever it may be, their swing, their jumper, and walk into the other room and scream, go for it.
Yeah.
So then you're not technically doing it to your infant. But, yeah.
We just can't always expect that. I mean, sometimes we just pop off. And for me, it's like oftentimes with no warning. Like, the moment where I explode did not build up. I was frustrated, and then done. It wasn't like frustrated, almost done. It was just frustrated, and then boom. And
it's a lot of little things that build up to a moment.
Yeah, and I think it's like, too, especially when you're parenting alone, whether you're a stay-at-home parent, single parent, or, you know, your husband's just not around, whatever it may be, like, you're mixing the frustration of not knowing what the child wants, or the exhaustion of dealing with the same problem from that child over and over again, with also being overwhelmed that you're alone and there's no one to help you, and there's no one who's gonna, you know, there's not even someone to look at you and say it's okay. Like,
yeah,
I think that being alone part is what makes it, to me, like, that's what really sets me over the edge the most. Not that I haven't exploded when Seth was there too, but, like, it's mostly when I'm alone.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree and get that.
I did have, when I was doing my Googling a while back, I found this blog, and I believe it's called Messy Motherhood. But this was so long ago, so I apologize if I got it wrong. So first of all, they do offer these free, like, stop yelling things, where they, like, email you each day and say, like, just a reminder to not yell, which I did at that time. And then they also, like, have tips on, like, ways that you can, if you have a problem where you really want to stop yelling, whether it's, like, you have an anger problem or whether it's just a habit you want to break, they offered some ideas, which I thought was cool. But on top of that, also, she made this wonderful sort of, I don't know the term that I'm looking for. But she said this great thing that I really liked, and it was that there are a small portion of families that don't yell, and she called them like the sweet families, and then she said the rest of us are the spicy families. So while we might yell more, we also love louder, we hug more, we fight more, but we also have a lot more fun together. And neither family is better than the other. They're just different. So you might be one of the sweet families and you guys don't have these, explosions, but on the families like us, we're exactly like you, just turned up. Our volume is just turned up louder. And so that if you might just be in a spicy family, we yell, but we also laugh and hug and adventure and,
I love that.
Me too. Sometimes when I've had a rough day, I just have to remind myself, I'm like, we're a spicy family.
Love that.
But I'm really glad we got to this episode because this is the kind of thing I wanted us to really share with people. Like the ugliest moments that, everybody thinks that only they do. Like, no, we do that too.
Yeah, no, we all do it.
And if you ever want to tweet us or message us,
email us, share a story.
Yeah, we'll tell you oh yeah, I did that.
Yeah, Lauren will literally text me all the time and be like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, oh yeah, no, that happens.
Yeah. Which is the best you can do.
Yeah. And sometimes she'll text me and I'll be like, oh yeah, no, that happened again yesterday for myself. It doesn't go away either.
I want football. Football.
So
I don't know if there's really any more else to say except just that I think that it's not something you ever really need to completely stress about, because when your child is so young like that, they can't form concrete memories. And then only up until once they get past 9 months, I think they start to have stronger associations. And then, or maybe it's around 6 months they get associations, 9 months they start to get memories from one day back at most. Point is, if you yell up at them all the time, then by the later part of the year, they're going to start to remember to be afraid or upset. I mean, you have to do it every day, and then after that, they will have memories that are not far back at all. So if you yell at them a week later, they will not remember it at all. So the great news is that I don't think any of us are doing those things. So point being, that first part of life, it doesn't even stick for them. And then after that, once they're older, they're intelligent enough to understand, Mommy yelled because I acted out. So I think that it kind of takes a little bit of weight off your shoulders to know that by the time they can remember anything, they can understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, it's a little reassuring to me.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Tim, get that off your face. No, it goes on my feet.
Oh, and another thing I wanted to mention too is that for the people who don't yell, it does not mean that you're not doing something else detrimental as a way to release. There are a lot of other ways that people handle their emotions that are unhealthy. You might not yell, but you might drink or do drugs, or, you might take it out on your partner. Just because you're not exploding doesn't mean that you're perfect. So
nobody's perfect.
Right. So again, like we said before, nobody needs to throw stones.
Right, because I'll put you on blast. All right, so are we ready for this tip of the week?
Yes.
No, I can't paint your nails. I already painted my nails. So my tip of the week this week is that all of the new moms out there, you need to accept now that your life is going to change when you have a baby or after you have a baby. Who you thought was your friend before then probably will be your friend during the infant stage because everyone loves a cute little baby. But, once they turn 1 and start walking, and you will find that less and less of who you thought were friends will text you, and that's fine. It's something you need to deal with. We all deal with things like that differently, but just surround oh my God. No. Don't buy your kids the stupid lawnmower. But surround yourself with friends that will be there for you. Or friends that also have kids so they understand that on a Friday, you can't last minute decide, hey, do you want to go to the bar with us an hour? We usually can't make it.
They don't get that.
They don't. Or you want to have a wedding in another country and have it be that kids can come for the vacation, but they can't come for the ceremony. Yeah, not gonna come.
No.
So yeah, there's things like that people will never understand. But look, one day they'll have kids and your kid will be older and you'll be able to do things and they won't. And then you can start doing the same thing to them.
True.
But yes, just realize that it does suck. We all go through it. But hopefully you have a significant other that's there for you and does other fun things that maybe involve your children. Like I tried to do fun things with Tim that involve him, like going to the aquarium or the little enchanted forest thing we have nearby, going to the park, just doing fun things with your family. It's a way to have fun and not feel like you don't have friends.
Yay.
So that is my tip of the week.
I like it. Did you do tweets?
I did.
Whoop, whoop. All right, I'll start us off.
Okay.
Mama_Victoria just pulled out the boob at the dog park to feed the baby. Life's too short for covering up.
Ooh, love that. I have at court_Colin77. She said, bought Capri Suns for my kid to try. There's only 3 left and she hasn't even had one yet. # bad mom.
Okay. Tired_dad_of_2. That's too many underscores. Sorry, tired of dad of 2. Tired dad of 2. I can't say it. Anyways. He said, in the car on the way to school this morning, 4 called 2 a cheese stick butt in case anyone is looking for a new put down.
Loved that. So I have at Heather Heiser 2. I don't know if that's how you pronounce the last name, but I'm going with it. She said, you homeschool, cloth diaper, have 0 screen time, taught your kids to read at 3, and have never raised your voice at them. That's super cool. This morning, I accidentally called my kid a chicken nugget.
Dad_philosophy. Well, it finally happened. I was belittled/dismissed for being a stay-at-home dad. I'd say I don't give a fuck, but I do. I'm 6'6", 270 pounds, but having somebody try to make me feel insignificant still stings. Sorry to all the ladies who have been similarly dismissed throughout the years.
Love that.
Yeah, if we have any listeners who would put down a dad for being a stay-at-home dad, you can just get the fuck out.
Or a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, anyone who's staying home with a kid, regardless of their gender, that's a big job and it's a really important job. In fact, and if you weren't doing it, you'd be paying someone else to do it, and I would hope you would want them to take care of your kids well, right? If it's a daycare provider, a nanny, or a babysitter, you would use care in selecting that person, right? You would value them and you pay them. So, you should freaking value a stay-at-home parent as well.
Yep.
It's not a small job.
It is not. My husband loves to joke that he's going to become a stay-at-home dad. And you've met him. First thing, he definitely can't do it. And I literally tell him that every time he tells me. I just laugh in his face and be like, yeah, you could never do that. Like, all joking aside, you can't do it. And he's like, what do you mean? And of course he thinks it's all,
sitting
down, watching TV,
Netflix,
playing video games all day. And I'm like, yeah, no, if I only were that, I would have never went back to work.
Right.
So my last tweet is from @MomedRealHard. She said, my husband walked into the bathroom and found me in a very awkward position. I don't think he's ever going to let me live this down. Then she explains what her awkward position was. She was still in her pajamas next to the running shower, holding her phone, looking at Twitter.
I max out my shower times too. I'm like, gotta check my notifications.
Oh, me in the bathroom. I tell my husband I have to poop and then spend like 30 minutes in there. And he'll be like, I know you aren't in there. And I'm like, no, I am. But really, I'm just like Facebooking, catching up on social media. And I don't even want to stay in peace because my husband will my son likes to come in and my cats bug me. So never in peace. So I deserve those 30 minutes because they were definitely interrupted.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening, friends.
That's it for this week.
Bye.
Bye.